All right, so we're going to be looking at the train project, and I want to get you started off right, so I'm going to work through this body, the main part of it with you. There's a couple new techniques that we learned in a couple of last exercises that are going to be evident, and we want to make sure that you guys are tackling this correctly and get you started off right. So if we take a look at the drawing that we have, and notice that there's two isometric views. We're going to take a look at this front profile first, and we're going to extrude that out, and then extrude it back to the cab, and then create the cab. So let me get the make sure we're on the train project here. Pull this off to the side so I don't lose it. Create a part. Make sure you've created your project first. Create sketch. And whenever you're creating your sketches, you want to kind of look at the plane that we're going to be working on. In this case, we're going to be working on this XY plane. We're going to create this front part of this train body, the tank, if you will. And you notice that everything's centered off of this small peg hole, this small circle in the front. So we can either do it off of that or off of this main center here for the large circle. Let's try it. Let's try it a couple different ways. Let's go create sketch here. And I'll pull this over to the side a little bit. And if we create this large circle first. Actually, let's start with this rectangle at the bottom. We know that the overall rectangle is 2 inches wide and it's 1.3 inches high. So we'll just create a rectangle, 2 inches wide, tab 1.38 tall. Enter. And that creates a rectangle. It goes off screen, so if we hit front, it'll bring it into image. Now, see, I got this measurement wrong here. The actual height is only 0.88. So let's go to the dimension, change that to 0.88. And remember, you don't have to type in the inches, just the actual, because we're in inches by default. So we have our centerpiece here. Let's do this. Let's shrink this down a little. This is the beauty about having two screens to work with. You don't have to shrink your workspace. There we go. Now we got the dimensions to see what we're looking at here. So I've got these three little circles that we have to create. They could be holes, but right now we just need to create the profile. So I want to put this top circle on top of this rectangle. Notice that it doesn't go all the way down. So I'm going to use a construction line and go from the center, find my snap of the center, and go up to the center point of that circle, which is 1.38. Now, at this point is where we can start our circle. So we're going to use the circle command. Don't need it to be a construction. And we have a radius of 0.75. So if the radius is 0.75, that means the whole diameter is 1.5, right? Twice the radius. Enter. Now we can use our trim. Trim away what we don't need. Finish the sketch. And we have the front profile. Now we can extrude this profile. The distance that we need to go back, which the overall distance is 5.5. The distance of this, just the cab, is 1.75. So (5.5) minus 1.75 equals 3.75. That's what we're going to extrude at 3.75. Let's go the other way just to make things all copacetic. Okay, so there's our profile of the cab, or the profile of the tank. Now we go around to the back side and we're going to sketch this on the bottom isometric view. We're going to sketch this profile. We know that the bottom's the same, so let's take a look at this thing. Create a sketch, and we have a radius of this top, which is 2.35, but it's from this center point, which is 0.375 up. So let's do a construction line. .375. Escape. The top of this is our radius point for our circle. Well, there's another way to do this. We could do it just by drawing an arc. But the radius of this top is 2.35, so the diameter is going to be 4.70. Now we just need to finish. Oops. Edit the sketch. This line needs to be not a construction line. Now we just go straight up. Straight up. And cross over. Trim out what we don't want. Finish our sketch. And now we have our profile of the back that we need to extrude to be what? How deep is this cab? Well, we know the cab is 1.75, so we're going to extrude. Now, normally when we extrude, we can extrude that whole shape. Sometimes you might have to select the top part and the bottom part separately, depending on how you constructed it. So we're going to make this 1.75. And there's the rough body of our train. Now here's where the fun starts to happen. We need to do a cutout through here to make this little groovy window that's in the back. So let's sketch on the side. And we know that the center of that is 0.125 from the back. Construction line needs to be 0.125 from the back. I'm sorry, 0.25 from the back. And it needs to be 0.175 up from the bottom. The circle itself has a diameter of half. So a radius of half, so the diameter is 1. And it needs to be 1.75 up from the bottom. Again, the line here I want to be a regular line. Okay, but see how it goes straight back? It goes straight back. So all we're going to do is create 2 lines straight back. I'm in the construction. Get out of that. Straight back. Straight back. And then we have to finish it by creating that line on the edge. Now we can trim away, again, what we don't want. Trim that. trim that, trim that. Finish. Do a cut extrude. Might as well go all. Enter. There's our cutout. So now we got the problem for the smokestack that's going to sit in the top. It's got to have a flat bottom. And in order for it to have a flat bottom, we can't do a sketch on this top of this without creating a plane. So the first thing we have to do is create a plane on this surface. So let's take a look at our origins. We want it to be on that XY plane on the surface. See, I'm just touching that surface, that round edge, and what it's going to put a plane tangent to that round circle. Just touching the edge of it. Okay, let's take a break here and make sure we're caught up. Okay, so we got our main body. We're going to create this hole for the smokestack. So we needed to create a tangent plane to this top. Remember, we went to the XY plane. Plane command, XY, and touch the top of this to get this plane. Now we can sketch directly on this plane. And notice that that plane that we're sketching on is just perfectly tangent to the top of this train. So let's go look at the top of this thing. We've got our front edge that we're going to have to measure from. So we want to project that geometry, that front edge. That creates a reference point. And we got a circle that is 1/2 inch in diameter. That's a diameter symbol. So we're going to create a circle from the center that's 1/2 inch in diameter, and it needs to go back 0.88. So I'm just going to reference that line, go to the center of the circle, and take it back 0.88. Now we can finish the sketch, and we see that our circle here has a depth of 0.25. So we can do a cut extrude, 0.25, and it goes down into the train. There we go. Now we can turn that work plane off if we don't want to see it. Just uncheck the visibility, and we have a flat bottom circle sketched on top of that tank that we can stick the smokestack down into. Okay, so we have pretty much the whole thing done. All we have left is a couple of little holes on the side for the axles to go in for the axle pegs, the holes on the front for the cow catcher, and that hole on the back for the hitch pin. So let's take a look at these side holes first. So let's sketch on this face over here. Oops, I don't want to extrude. I want to sketch on this plane, right face. And we know that they are 3.5 apart. If we go from the back side to the front, and then from the back it's 1 inch, so it's 3.5 apart. So if we create a line that's 3.5, and it's 1/2 inch up from the bottom, and from the back it's 4.5 to the front point. Gap gives us our 2 endpoints. So we can finish the sketch. And I'm going to create 2 holes here. Create a hole from centers. And we want the hole to go all the way through. Let's make them threaded just for fun. And let's go all the way through. The hole themselves need to be 1/4 inch. Oops, let's take a look at this. So they are threaded. They're 1/4 inch UNC through all the way. So we're going to select the threaded. 1/4 inch UNC is already selected. And we want to go full depth. So the centers. And we hit OK. Now if we take a look at this, zoom in, you can see those are threaded holes all the way through. Alright, so the front and the back holes don't need to be threaded, so we can just create circles for those. So let's start with this front face. And we're going to create 3 little circles that are 0.125 in diameter. Point 125. 0.125. And 0.125. It doesn't matter where they are yet. We're going to make them in sync. So we know that up from the bottom, it's 0.125. So let's put a dimension from here to this one, 0.125. We could do the same thing for this one, or we can make them collinear, horizontal constraint. Right? From the sides, they are 0.375. Project geometry. Point 375. .375, and then we need to get this center one, which is 0.625 from the bottom. Enter. Finish the sketch. They are 1.125 deep, so cut extrude. 0.125, this one, and that one. So there's our front. Let's go around to the back. Create a hole, sketch, find the center, come straight up. Notice the Y. I'm going to type in
It's just like you have a section where it says part 5.
0.375
I can get rid of that.
Okay. I haven't
I tried
and make my circle
some of that stuff out, but I haven't got it all.
0.25 in diameter. Finish sketch.
I'll go back and get it. The main
Cut extrude.
content that I've missed, like, I want to make sure that I've got
0.5 deep.
I want to make sure that I've got all 6
Okay. Well, like so far it looks
And we're done with our body.
okay.
So now you can do cool stuff, but we're pretty much done. I mean, if you want to make it, see if we're going to print it in our
I'm sure of it.
3D printer, we'd use PVC and give it a color. And we're done. File, save as, train body. Save. Actually, I'm going to make it red. I don't like that. Oh, let's make it blue for Matthews. There we go. And if we want to put a chrome, just that feature, let's make it a chrome tank. There we go. Yeah, we'll make it look cool. All right, so we're good to go. Save. And we're done. That's our train body.